Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Pack Leader Podcast, season number 3, episode number 5. Brian Bland, how we doing?
Doing good, Coach. How about you?
Good, good. Are you feeling recovered from the Newberry Open yet?
Yeah, most of the soreness is gone. My pride thankfully remained intact, so that didn't need as much recovery. But man, I'm not 18 to 22 anymore.
Right, and I think I had 4 matches. How many did you have?
Also 4.
Oh, yeah, not built for that anymore.
No, maybe duels. I could be built for a duel,
Right.
but 4 in a day is tough.
Yeah, that was tough. We got to that third match. I was like, man, I don't know how much more I got left in the tank.
I took a nap on a training table in the hallway downstairs between my second and third match.
That's wild.
It wasn't fully intentional.
You just passed out. Nice. But it was fun, and it was for a good cause. The guys knocked the fundraising goal out of the water, and so a deal is a deal. We told them if they got over $400 a pin that we do it, and so it's nice, definitely, to not have it in the back of my head though, having to make weight.
Man, it's been just like a ghost just peeking out of my closet, just haunting me since like October. Whenever they got over 400, it's just been there.
Right. And I had a solid cut. I think I came down from 65, but you really had a big cut.
Listen, at the end of the day, I think more than anything, I'm just happy to know that if it comes down to it, I can get back to fighting weight.
Right.
So, I mean, the fact that we both competed at our college weight classes, I think, is my biggest takeaway. So,
Right. Yeah.
If nothing else, at least we're not completely out of shape.
Right. No, it was fun. And speaking of the pin pool, I mentioned, the goal was to get over $400 a pin, and we're at $508 a pin, thanks to Nolan Whiteley, who was our most recent pin pool member. So
yeah, well, that was probably delayed by us not getting him that gear because he's been bugging us for months. As soon as we got him the gear, he got us the pin pool. What's it? The pledge.
Yep.
So that helps.
Definitely. And so $508 a pin, really successful pin pool campaign that we're having this year. And we're, as of today, at 91 pins as a team. John Parker is leading the team. He surpassed or tied Dennis Verrilli with 9. Dennis has 9, and then also Devin Rice has 8. Blanton, you technically have the fastest pin now from the Newberry Open at 18 seconds.
Listen, I was in gas tank conservation mode for that entire event. I was trying to end them as quick as I could.
Hey, I like it. But on the team, though, Will Evans has the fastest pin still at 28 seconds. And then there was also another really fast one. I think somebody had 44 seconds at the Newberry Open, which we'll talk about that a little bit later, too. But as always, we just want to say thank you to each and every member. Sincerely, we appreciate the support. As you guys know, Phase 2 renovations are set to start in our wrestling facility this coming spring. And we need a lot of work to still be done over there in terms of a new roof, the locker room enhancements, and installation of the showers, and on top of a few other things we need to get done as well. So the support that you guys have offered us this year, it really means a lot to us, and we appreciate it.
Oh, for sure. Not to mention the inclusion of an additional team with women's being added over there. So having them being able to use the space as well, that's a big part of the renovation, and also, a big potential place to sort of collaborate on, whether it's future fundraisers or, future events. Obviously, if you're tied in with the men's program and kind of want to remain on that side, that's fine as well. But there will be twice as much Newberry Wrestling to support moving forward.
Definitely, which is something exciting to look forward to. I want to jump into the next thing, which is national rankings. NWCA rankings came out, and UCO is in number 1. I know for a while there was like a 3-way tie between them, West Lib, and Lander.
Right.
But they've, according to the NWCA, really pulled it ahead by quite a large margin. They're in first place with 93 points. Lander is in second with 71 points, and then also pretty far behind them is West Lib with 55 points. So it's interesting to see how that dynamic changed from them being in a 3-way tie among different rankings, and now I guess we're a little later into the season, things have kind of solidified.
Right, and I mean we talked about the way they rank, I think on the last episode, and something I don't necessarily love, but that could explain how something goes from being super tight to really spread out. If one or two people shift,
right,
things happen in such a way that those points really add up. But those are definitely 3 of the top teams. We saw them in action out at Natty Duels.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely tough teams. St. Cloud's in the mix. Augustana's in the mix as well, as far as tough teams, at least in a dual format.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's certainly clear why UCA is at the top after watching that performance.
Yeah, I mean, in the finals at National Duels, I think Augustana was able to sneak out one
Right.
in terms of not getting blanked. And
Yep.
so they're the real deal this year. And it'll be interesting to see that team race at the NCAA tournament. In the individual rankings, though, we have one Newberry Wolf ranked at number 11 at heavyweight, Devin Rice. He's been super consistent all year, and he's been kind of floating around that 9 to 11 range throughout the course of the season. I was hoping we would have got some head-to-heads with some of those top guys when we were out at national duels or at least at Midwest, but he just hasn't had an opportunity to wrestle any of those guys yet.
Right, because if I'm not mistaken, he went undefeated at Natty Duels.
Yep.
And so he looked really good. We wrestled, 4 quality programs, so you would think that at some point he'd stumble across somebody, but, everybody who is up ahead of him was just, on other teams. Yet, like you said, he hadn't been able to get a matchup with one of those guys, but I anticipate him sliding up as soon as he does get some of these matchups because he's looked really good all year.
He really has. And in the open mat, their rankings, we have 2 guys. Devin Moore is ranked number 8 at 149 pounds, and then Devin Rice is ranked number 13 at 285. So I wanted to shift gears and talk about our signees. We've had 3. We picked up 3 guys since the last episode. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Haven Jenkins from Tennessee.
Yeah.
We actually have seen him in action this year. He wrestled a couple of our guys at, was it the King Open?
Yep, it was the King Open.
At the King Open, great looking kid. Didn't realize he was a high school kid until I think after he had wrestled both our guys. But
right.
I think both of our guys were able to sneak out wins against him. But looked super solid. Good looking kid. Wrestled at 184, so I imagine him fitting somewhere in that ballpark next year. And then a couple guys from my neck of the woods, Johnny Cunningham from Stratford and Nathan Gates from Fort D. Nathan especially, he's been at camps and stuff for years. Johnny Cunningham, we got tied into him with the Manning Dinks who, are tight with the program. So shout out to you guys. But really solid month of recruiting and getting some quality signees and looking forward to keep adding to that list as well.
Oh, yeah, not done yet. And to that point, you mentioned they had tight matches. The Jenkins kid, he took Jacoby into overtime.
Right.
So that was a really tight match. And I remember when he came off the mat, he walked off to go do something, and I went up to his coach. I was like, hey, man, what's that kid's name?
Right.
And we kind of connected from there. But he's an awesome addition. All 3 of them are really excited to have these guys join our program in the fall of 24. So we've had quite a stint of matches since the last episode. We're on a 5-match win streak right now, and I wanted to just jump into a little bit of a competition recap because the new year certainly didn't start that way for us.
Right. Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, to say the least. And, reason being is because, we were wrestling tough competition, though. We went out to Iowa, which was a very fun trip, getting to see the best teams in the country. We dropped 3 matches to St. Cloud, who was number 6 at the time, Lake Erie, who was number 5 at the time, and then lost a really tight one, 18-19, to Tiffin, who was number 20 at the time. They were in a 2-way tie, actually, with Ashland, and we were able to pull that one out.
Yep. Able to kind of handle Ashland a little more handily based on – comparatively with them being tied with Tiffin in the rankings. Tiffin had a couple matches where we were winning and got stuck in a scramble. I think Shoop and Jacoby maybe both that match. But if both those swing our way, we win that match, equally as handily. Mm-hmm. And I could be misremembering maybe one of those, but I'm pretty sure not both of them. And that was the one where Rice had to not tech the guy.
Yeah.
And he didn't understand what we were trying to tell him. We were like, let him take you down because we didn't want him to score because if he would have scored again, it would have been tech.
Right.
And so basically it was like 2 guys trying to get taken down, which was pretty hilarious to watch. But anyway, long story short, that Tiffin match was super close, and even the Lake Erie match was similar in that 1 or 2 of those goes our way, and it's a different result. So as far as wrestling well with top competition, we showed up and we wrestled really well. I think that St. Cloud match, I honestly feel like their ranking was a little off because they kind of showed up and they were the St. Cloud we expected to see. Mm-hmm. They're a solid team. They always are. They beat us 28 to 9.
28, yeah.
Yeah, they're solid. We were in a lot of those matches. They were able to steal some from us there, but they're a top team. Lake Erie, Tiffin, and Ashland, the 2 we lost there, Lake Erie and Tiffin, we were in those matches, and Ashland, we finally settled in and handled business. And we actually had a couple guys who seemed to be in a bit of a funk, and you could see the progression through the duels even. Early on, kind of like, hey, first weigh-in and match, and then as we slid through the duels, improvement.
Yeah.
Over the course of those duels, and then even some of those guys getting their first or second win there against Ashland. So it was good to see the improvement. It was good to show that we can wrestle and make those adjustments, but it was disappointing to go 1-3 when you expected to go maybe 3-1, 2-2, something like that.
For sure. Give me one sec. Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. And what was interesting to me was just to see, Devin Moore coming off of that ankle injury from Life, and just to see him kind of start to put it together after that loss to St. Cloud. And some of the other guys, too, to see Reed, he's right there with that number one, the kid who at the time was ranked number one in the country at 174 pounds, and we lose on the last-second takedown. And PJ being right there. So I think my biggest takeaway from that weekend is it was important for our guys and super valuable for them to see that we really aren't that far off from some of the nation's top teams. And I think it's paid off, coming back to our conference competition. I think we're in a bit of a stride right now and headed towards a peak because of the experience we had out there.
Oh, for sure. Harrington's another one comes to mind who was, in a bit of a dip, and we saw that progression throughout, like literally, got beat, I believe, probably the worst at St. Cloud, and was in the match against Lake Erie. We thought he won it at the end against Tiffin, and then he does win one against Ashland. Like he is sort of emblematic of that exact thing you're saying. So I think it really helped our guys, like you said, showing that consistency and that elevated level of preparation and performance that we've seen since then has really been evident.
Definitely. And so fast forward, after our national duels trip, we headed to Columbia, South Carolina, where we took on the Yellow Jackets of Allen University, and we were able to put a dominant 37-14 win on them January 10th. A lot more dominant than last year was when we came down to the wire.
Yes. This year, which actually was a little bit alarming, knowing going in we might be giving up a couple weights. So we had to forfeit 25 and 65 for various reasons, but being able to score bonus in most of the other matches, not let those two forfeits affect us, whether it's from an emotional or momentum standpoint. Right. Both big things, and just show up and wrestle. That's a team that we feel like we should go out and beat pretty handily, and to not wrestle down to that level or to not underestimate them or whatever, just to show up and handle business. It was good to see our guys show up and do that.
Yeah, you mentioned bonus points, and we scored bonus in 6 of the 8 bouts. So, I mean, it was super dominant for the guys that we did have that wrestled. And then after that, we kept it rolling. We had Belmont Abbey here in Eliezer Arena. And, again, bonus points are a great thing, and we had 5 of the 10 bouts that we wrestled, we scored bonus points in. In that match, we also, saw Keegan have his debut after pulling his red shirt.
Yep, went out there. Got out to a hot start. I think you could tell that his competitive gas tank wasn't maybe where you would want it to be due to basically just practicing since early November.
Right.
But as far as ability, you could certainly see why we decided to put him out there, and looked good. Even though he lost a tough one, it was to the returning region champ. Yep. So, super quality match, super quality opponent. You hate to lose your debut, but if you're going to lose it, that's how you want it to look.
Right. And if you just give a little context, Max is a Super Region 2 champ who beat Trent Mahoney, who was a 2023 All-American. So, it's, he's right there with some of the best guys in the country. And like you said, Keegan started out hot in that match, and he's one that we've been excited about since we signed him. To give a little more context, he was an NHSCA national champ and All-American in high school. I think a 3-time state champ out of Virginia as well. So really coming in, wrestling at a high level already. And you always kind of say, we want your best 4 years, and that's why we choose the red shirt a lot of guys, but he made it pretty evident throughout wrestle-offs and throughout the course of the year that he's ready to go now.
Yeah.
So really excited about him, having some head-to-head wins outside of that one too. You think about Pembroke Open, and he was able to get a win on Keegan, their 57, who's the top 6 guy in the country right now as well.
Yep.
So clearly having some good ability. We're excited about him, and just got to get him healthy and in shape, in competition shape, like you mentioned.
For sure.
I wanted to talk about PJ's comeback, which was also crazy.
Wild. It was I believe down by 10.
Yeah.
At one point, and
10-1.
Down.
10 points. Down by 10.
Down by 10 in the third, I think. Maybe late second.
Yep.
Yeah, in the third, down by 10. Finds a way to come back and puts the guy on his back. And I'm not sure if those back points would have maybe tied it or not, whatever the case was, but ended up getting the fall with next to no time left.
Right.
Like as time was expiring, 8 seconds left. and gets a fall. It was crazy. He scored. I don't know. Like, why would you let yourself get down like that if you could just do that?
In the first period.
Right.
Well, remember he tried to hit that
Yeah, he
what do you
did.
call
Yeah,
it? Gator
the
bait?
elevator or whatever.
Elevator, yeah. He went to go do that, went straight to his back, gave up, obviously 3 takedown and then 4 swipes. So had to battle back from that, which wasn't fun. But it was just he put himself in that position where he only had 30 or 45 seconds left to do what seemed insurmountable.
Right, and then put on a clinic.
Yeah, a literal takedown. It looked like he was drilling.
Yep.
So that was exciting, and it got the crowd going too, which was fun.
Yeah, and PJ when he gets that confidence and he gets a little swagger, he can wrestle. And I mean, he showed it that night. It was almost that decision, like he had that moment where he could choose either I'm down too big and I'm just going to try to survive, maybe try to not get majored, or it's like, dang, I'm down big. I got my work cut out for me if I want to come back. And he kind of chose the latter and did it. And when he gets in that zone, he can wrestle with anybody.
Yeah, and with the 3-point takedown now, being able to put a few things together like he did, definitely makes it scoring points a lot easier. And topping it off with a pin, I can't think of a better way to end that match. So,
right.
Fast forwarding a little bit more, 2024 Newberry Open. First thing that stuck out to me, it was Dennis Verrilli, man. He had a great performance.
Listen, Dennis can wrestle, and he's a pinner. He's fun to watch. He's exciting, big moves, but solid. I mean, he's going to be good.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Verrilli is a true freshman, redshirting this year out of New Jersey. We picked him up in the spring and really excited to have him. He's been a breath of fresh air and a great addition to our program. But he's one of the ones we noticed right off the bat who's super talented, has just a natural ability for pinning, obviously being right behind John Parker and not even starting, in the lineup. So he's one, I think, that has a really bright future ahead of him. And I think if Keegan didn't injury to fall out, they would have met in the finals, right, at 57?
Yeah, Keegan forfeited in the finals.
Gotcha.
To Dennis.
Yeah. And so, but it was good for Judd also to come and get some more matches under his belt. Because for those who don't know, he was wrestling really well at the Pembroke Open back in November, and actually had to go to the hospital after an injury that he sustained there, and was kind of has been out of pocket for a month or two, and now is finally starting to slowly get back into the swing of things. So we really just put him in the Open to get some matches, knowing that he's going to be starting now. But also another person who had a standout day, Armando Acosta, who you wrestled in the finals.
Yeah, hey, he was ready. He brought it. I had to weather that storm, but yeah, Armando looked great. The guy who took third ended up dominating his way on the backside, and Armando beat him in the first round, like 2-1 tight match. So great to see Armando get it done, both kind of offensively and defensively. Keep the match low scoring, score when he could. I think he had to ride out to win. So to be able to see him win a match like that, which is normally he's a big, stay in your face, push the pressure, double leg, score and takedown type of guy. So for him to win a match the way he had to in the first round against the guy who dominated the backside, it's good to see for Armando. And then, like you said, he made his way to the finals, and that's where the student did not become the master.
I love it, but it was great to see him go out there, and he just looked like he was having so much fun, and a lot of the adjustments that we talk about in practice, you could see him focusing on as well. So to see him start to put that stuff together, especially in his senior year, is important, and I'm excited to see him wrestle at Mount Olive as well. I know they're bringing another 84-pounder, so to celebrate his last night in wrestling in Eliezer Arena, I think it's going to be great to see him go out and compete.
Oh, for sure, and Armando's on the way out, but speaking of guys on the way in, the triplets.
Yeah,
we've only seen that's the first time I think Cole's wrestled this year, if I'm not mistaken.
He wrestled. You're right, actually, because his shoulder, so he didn't wrestle.
He started off with that little bum shoulder.
Yeah.
The other two look great, early on, but to get them all together in the Open was good. I think Hunter was down at 25. The other two were at 33.
Yep, and Hunter took third.
Yep, Hunter took third. I think Ethan and Cole wrestled each other in the bracket.
Yep.
So there's that. That's the brotherly bragging rights. That's probably playing a big role right now.
Yeah, definitely.
But man, they look good. They're going to be fun to watch.
They are, man. They have so much offense. I mean, Hunter, he had in his first match a 15-0 tech fall. And then he had a 19-7 major decision in the second round as well. So they clearly have, and I think he also pinned in the Consi semis. He had a pin at 347. So those, like you said, those dudes can wrestle in all positions, and not just in the traditional way. They got good hips, good ability to throw.
They got all the junk.
All of it. They can throw it at you. So they've been a great addition to the program as well, and some guys that we're really excited about. But all in all, it was a great day. We had 16 wrestlers that competed in the Open in total, including the unattached ones, obviously. And we compiled throughout the day 38 wins in total.
Oh, nice. And it was, I think 12 pins?
Yep, 12 pins too. So
and a third of those came from the coaching staff.
You got 2 on the day,
as did you.
Yeah.
I noticed you've left the notes of yourself off of here, but you also won it. So congrats, coach.
Appreciate it,
Newberry Open champ.
I wrestle all of Lander's 149s.
Right. I think for about 15 minutes you had the record as the oldest Newberry Open champ until we rolled up to 184, and my old behind had to roll out there and follow suit. But
you got to get Cy out there next year.
Yeah, give him the record.
It was a very productive day, and good to see some of our red shirts who we haven't had the opportunity to watch compete. It's good to see them back out there scrapping. So
and some guys who maybe haven't found their way to the starting lineup, but you see them putting in the work every day. Like I know Andrew Annan, he's a senior. He was out there racking up some wins. Looking good. His parents came to watch. Seeing stuff like that's great, and that's one of the reasons we love hosting that Open in the second semester, because it's a great opportunity for whether you're a red shirt or a backup who maybe doesn't get a lot of mat time. It's an opportunity to kind of see the progress from first semester. Those early to mid-November, maybe early December opens that maybe you take some lumps because you're a first-year freshman, or maybe you're trying to gauge where you're at after an off-season of training, and then to kind of be back in the room, be around all these guys who are competing, and then kind of see how much you've sharpened your skills by second semester as the season's starting to wind down. It's a really good measuring stick for those guys, and it's a good opportunity to get out there and compete for those guys.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, practice is something that we love and we do, but we do it to compete. That's the fun part. So I kind of jumped the gun before the Newberry Open. We defeated Limestone as well, 30-10. And just a biggest takeaway for me was that we remain consistent from Allen and from Belmont, and doing what we needed to do. It's a great win by 2 true freshmen, Gilliam and Judd. I'm pretty sure both of them beat seniors that were on their way out. And then Jacoby, he wrestled a really great match. I feel like, honestly, Bostic, who I take nothing away from, super talented, very athletic, but I feel like he kind of stole one from Jacoby.
Yeah, I think if you tried to make a highlight of that match, it would be all Jacoby.
Right.
Bostic got one takedown early. I think the final score ended up being 4-2. That one takedown and a late escape really was the difference in the match. But Jacoby was in on his leg. I think he finished 3 or 4 different takedowns out of bounds.
Yep.
2 or 3 other times was in on shots and just got scrambled out of the takedown. Did Bostic, but as far as just out wrestle, I think Jacoby out wrestled Bostic that match, and I think if they wrestle 10 more times, Jacoby wins the next 10.
Yeah, we're just a few adjustments away in that match from being on the other side. So it's a one takedown match, and that loss that he took. But I'm excited, looking forward to seeing him at regionals
for sure.
Moving on now, our last duel that we just recently had was against Coker. We went down to Hartsville on February 1st, where we defeated them 45-4. We'll talk a little bit about that one.
Well, Shoot went out there and got us started early. I think old buddy wrestled with his headgear longer than he wrestled with Shoot.
That's true.
The 25-pounder really struggled to get his headgear snapped on. You hate to see it because it sort of shows what's probably about to happen. But, Shoot went out there and handled business, got us on a roll. Gilly went out there, kept things rolling. I think their best kid is at 41.
Omar.
And that's the match we dropped. Harrington went out there, looked great, got a beautiful takedown early. Yeah. And Omar just, that shows the experience and age, being able to kind of stay locked in and battle back and get the major. But outside of that, we looked phenomenal that match. And, again, just like you said a minute ago, just consistency.
Yeah, right. At 25, we had a pin. 33 was a major. Tech fall at 49, major at 57. a pin at 65, a tech at 74, a pin at 84, and Jacoby can't pin anybody.
Right.
And then D Rice.
What Jacoby tried to pin it was like watching a kid try to tie his shoes. He was like, "Is this right?"
Right.
But he got it done.
So yeah, lots of bonus points, and Chance Jackson, he was honestly the biggest standout for me of the night. And I know he only wrestled the exhibition, but we talk a lot about development, and just to see him out there trying to execute some of the technique and skills that y'all work on in the one-on-ones and that we work on in practice. That's what it's all about. I mean, that's the only way you're going to get better is
Right.
if you try.
Yeah. And seeing a guy buy into it is the biggest part, because we complain all the time about we take all this time out of practice showing technique and drilling stuff, and the guys, it's almost like an intentional decision to not drill it the way we show it, or kind of do their own thing. It's like, no, like, do this way for this reason. But chances when he buys in and he puts it to use and puts it into practice, the way we tell you to, for the reasons we tell you to, and it is great to see that coming along. And it almost seems like it has really sped up lately. Like he's unlocked something that has kind of taken him from a slight upward trajectory to a much steeper upward trajectory. So hopefully he can kind of maintain a little bit of that and really start to gain some ground on these guys.
Yeah, and it's very noticeable, and it's needed too, right? Because we talk a lot about it. Like, obviously injuries happen, and good teams need depth. So to know that we have him battling back next year and potentially another year after that, it's just great to have that depth at heavyweight.
Oh, for sure. And I'll tell you one thing too, just a quick point. I was actually glad to see Keegan get pushed, because we kind of thought, Coker's a little down this year, kind of thought it could be a bit of a pin fest, and to see him wrestle, a full match that he was kind of getting pushed a little bit and work to get that major, that was good to see as well.
Absolutely. Because I didn't think it was going to end up being a major decision. It was pretty tight there until the third period.
Yeah, and to see him able to push that, just to know that his conditioning and all that's kind of coming around, that was good to see.
Definitely. Well, yeah, so that puts us on the 5-match win streak, and hopefully we can keep that going this Thursday when we see UMO for senior night, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we wrap up. But that would be our last conference duel, UMO when they come here, and if we win that one, then we lock in our trip to the conference championships.
Yep.
So let's jump into this interview for our alumni spotlight this year, or this episode. We had Sheridan Moran. He was an All-American from Newberry College. What year did he?
2010.
2010. Yep, back in the day, he was a great training partner. I had the opportunity to scrap with him a lot whenever he was in the room, and he had a lot of cool, just fun insight to give on his experience here. So let's jump into the interview. How's it going, man?
It's good, dude. Brian, what's up?
My
You look
man,
like
how you
you
been?
look like you ran face first into a wall. Your hair's sticking straight up.
Hey man, that's my new thing.
Okay, all right. I'm just making fun because I'm starting to lose mine. So
Join
It
the club.
happens to the best of us.
yeah,
How's it going, man? Where's the beard? I'm used to seeing you with the long beard.
man, y'all just missed it. I shaved it like 2 days ago, and I had to do it out in my shop with the shop vac running because there was so much hair. My wife was like, "You're not doing this inside the house. Go outside."
That's funny.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Well, I
Yeah.
appreciate you hopping on the podcast with us. I know a few years ago when I was doing like the newsletter situation, we featured you in one of the spotlights, but it's kind of
Yeah.
cool to catch back up with you again. I know a
Yeah.
lot's happened since then, and in a different format too, with it not being typed out and whatever. So, yeah, thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Glad to see y'all, man. It's been too long.
Yeah.
For sure.
At first, I thought you were saying Blanton looked like he hit a wall because we wrestled yesterday or Sunday. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
what's up with that? Y'all too old for all that nonsense.
You ain't lying.
Although secretly I'm really jealous. So
no, it was fun. It actually was
Nothing to be jealous about. You got me a little shiner.
yeah, nice. No, I watched that inside trip you almost hit.
Almost. Yeah.
Hey, you were throwing them at him though.
Yeah,
When you only got one tool in the bag, you gotta keep trying to use it.
I hear you, man.
We told the guys if we got over, I think it was $400 a pin, that me and him would wrestle, and they blew it out of the water. So a deal's a deal.
Oh, nice. I wondered if it was something like that.
Yeah. So I think I came down from like 165 to make 49, and Blanton
Oh,
was
man.
up near, I don't know, where'd you come down from?
Like 210.
Shocking.
We were hurting, man.
Yeah.
But what's up? What's up with life? What are you doing these
Man,
days?
life is crazy, but it's awesome. It's totally different than the last time we talked. So last time we talked, I was coaching at Jesuit High School in New Orleans,
Mhm.
and my wife was finishing up her residency there as well. So when she finished, we actually moved back to where she's from, which is a little tiny town on the bayou, kind of on the coast. Like when you think of stereotypical Cajun people, this is that place. We have one stoplight by the church.
Okay.
Nice.
It's so a totally
Not by
totally
a church, by the church.
by the church. By the church. Uh so like totally different than the city life, which I really actually hold on. Burl, leave the chickens. Stop. Speaking of not city life anymore. That's
Oh
he
my goodness.
he freaking attacks the chickens every day. It's like, dude, they've been here for 5 years. Um, no, so we moved out here, and this is an area of the state that has no wrestling. So I kind of took a leave of absence, as you will, and kind of stayed home with my daughter and started building custom furniture and doing some like fine woodworking stuff.
Mhm.
And we finally, I think this was last March, so almost a year, we finally found a building that we could rent out, and we opened our own gym. So we teach Brazilian jiu-jitsu for the adults, and then we just started our first little kids wrestling program. So trying to really like grow the wrestling down here. There's a lot of interest. Two of the local high schools like just started teams this year. So hopefully I can kind of help filter and feed, the area with some wrestlers.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's
exciting.
awesome, dude.
So yeah, so by day I build furniture, and by night I teach people how to kill each other. So
Sounds like a good gig, man.
Yeah.
What did your wife end up doing her residency in? Like what area?
yeah, so she's family medicine,
Okay.
and she works at a real small like rural clinic down here in Napoleonville, and she actually works with her dad. So her dad's the only other family doctor. So it's her and her dad now that work in the clinic.
That's pretty cool.
So it's cool. It's a nice change of life pace, I'm not built for the city. As you can tell, I'm yelling at my chickens right now and my dog.
And you were yelling at a goat to leave the chickens alone?
No, I was yelling at my dog to leave the chickens alone.
Oh, gotcha.
He tries to go wrangle them up.
How
I
many
like how
chickens?
you automatically assumed it was a goat.
That's coming. That's coming this spring.
Right.
So,
I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
yeah.
Well, yeah, man, I appreciate you hopping on, and obviously, the spin on the podcast that we're doing, as opposed to the newsletter we were doing, is really just to feature all of the guys that came through the program who we considered to be leaders
Yeah.
while they were here, and just leaders now and what they're doing. So talk a little bit about just your career for those who don't know at Newberry. Just kind of walk us through how you ended up at Newberry. You transferred in from VTech, but I kind of want to start from the very beginning in terms of like your high school career, how you landed at VTech, and then how you ended up at Newberry.
Okay. Yeah. So I started wrestling at around, I guess, freshman year of high school, 13 or 14. I might have did the summer before high school. I can't remember. And kind of just fell in love with it right away. Like early on when I was in middle school, I got bullied a whole lot. As you can tell, I'm not a very large person. And so I first got into like boxing because I wanted to figure out a way to fight back. And by the time I got to freshman year, I think I had boxed like 2 or 3 years. And my freshman football coach and my boxing coach both told me like, hey, you're not very coordinated like catching things, and you're not very good at striking. Maybe you should try this wrestling thing. I was like, all right, well, I'll give that a shot. And then pretty much it was hook line after that. I mean, I've been on the mats for almost let's see, I'm 37, so whatever. Do the math real quick.
Like 21 years?
Yeah,
No,
something
24
like
years?
that. Yeah.
24 years?
And just never left. And so my junior year, I ended up winning a state title, and my senior year, I was state runner up. Um, and then I really, really wanted to wrestle in college, and I knew that I wanted to wrestle for Tom Brands. And so by lots of letters written and phone calls and kind of continuing to wrestle in the summer to show that I was still making progress. I was able to get a small scholarship, nothing major, um, to go to Tech. And so I wrestled there for 2 years. He ended up leaving after my first year, and it just wasn't the right thing to do to go to Iowa financially, and just other reasons. So I stayed at Virginia Tech with Kevin Dresser. And then after that year, I transferred out and actually came home for a year, which was tough. I really enjoyed my time at Tech. I have a lot of really close friends that I'm still friends with today from the school, and the wrestling was phenomenal. I learned a lot, but it just got to the point where it really wasn't the right fit for me personally. Like I wasn't growing as a human, and I just needed some change. Things were going on, and I just needed a change. So I spent 1 year coaching back home, and that kind of kept me active on the mats, kind of steered me in the right direction. And uh, Coach Valek called a couple of times that year, but him and I had been in touch in high school as well. So we had a kind of a relationship, and he convinced me that the best thing I could do for myself was just finish what I started. So I decided to pack up and head to Newberry. And then I was at Newberry for 3 years. My first year, I was behind Andrew Young, multiple time All American, great, great human being, but like a really good leader and person to learn from, to know like those are the shoes I got to fill my senior year. And at first, I was disappointed that I didn't start going in as a junior, because my goal had always been to be a multiple time national champ, because I never got to be a multiple time state champ. So I knew that it was slipping away, that original goal. And so I kind of had to reevaluate, and it's probably the best thing for me to be a backup for a year and really try to learn as much as I could about the sport of wrestling, and also just learn more about myself and what I was capable of. And sometimes it's good to suffer and be disappointed a little bit. Like that's what makes us tougher humans. So um got going into my senior year, I still had some really big goals. I had taken some losses that I was not happy with my junior year. And at this point, I think I actually told Bryant, I was like, dude, I just want to finish on the podium and just not feel like the last 5 years have been a waste. Like that was all I was focused on then. Um, which I can talk about that later in terms of like, I don't know if that's the right mindset, but that's what got me to become an All-American. I mean, that's what got me to get through some adversity that year with injuries and just mental fatigue and doubting myself a lot and my abilities. Um, and so by the time nationals rolled around and I had qualified, I knew that I was either going to die or I was going to be on the podium. Like that was the only two options of that weekend. There was no other option. And I had both my parents there to watch, which hadn't happened in a long time. They were able to come a good bit during my career, but I mean they're 14 hours away, so it's tough. But that was really cool to be able to do that in front of them, and it was really cool to be able to call my high school coach and tell him he had a college All American. That meant a lot to me, and yeah, that kind of ended my college career.
That's nice, man.
And then we got snowed in at the airport for like 3 days. So I just drank beer, and it was the best time ever.
Where were y'all at that year for nationals when you got snowed
We
in?
were in I think we were in
That was
Omaha.
Omaha, yeah.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
And
Man,
I was like the old ass man. I was like 23 or 22. So I was like, I don't know what y'all are doing, but I know what I'm doing.
nice. Talk a little bit about, you kind of hit on it a little bit, but just that podium mindset, and that like, hey, at this point, I'm just trying to get on the podium, man. I don't want the last 5 years to be a waste. And now that you've had some time to reflect, back on, kind of looking outside back in at yourself, do you feel like that was the right mindset to have, or, just talk a little bit to that point?
I think it was the right mindset to have at the time. I think that's what I needed to do to be able to achieve the goal that I had set out, and especially achieve the goal when there was no more chances after, right? So like I think your mindset might it might be tough to get to that mindset if you know you have more chances. But if it's
Right.
your last chance and there is no other option, that it worked for me.
Mhm.
Now being 37 and coaching as many kids as I have, and now running my own program and coaching adults, um, I realize there's probably healthier mindsets and probably mindsets that would provide more longevity. And also, I think ultimately you'd be more successful. And so my mind has shifted a lot in how I approach my coaching and with both the adults and the kids is, this is a game of attrition and it's a game of progress. So like you can't, uh, if you put all your focus on the result and you skip out on how much suffering you got through and you're still okay, right? And you're still better than you were before the suffering. If you skip out on all of the progress that you made, even if it's just little bits, and you don't like reflect on that, and all you care about is the result, it's really hard to learn. Like there's no, you can't get any better. You're just going to be stuck. Just keep running into the brick wall, running into the brick wall, hoping that it falls over and you can surpass that fourth place or that third place or whatever.
Right.
So I think just shifting to more of a mindset of like, no matter what happens, I'm going to get better. I'm going to improve. I'm going to focus on my improvements. I'm going to focus on the areas I need to improve on. But the result is just the result. Like it's out of your control at that point. You've gotten what you've got. So you have to move forward.
Yeah.
Um, and I think if I had had that mindset earlier in my career, especially at Virginia Tech, where I literally did not know how to wrestle. I was just getting by on just pure being too terrified of Tom Brands to quit. I thought he would kill me. So I was just, I was trying my best to just survive. And I focused so much on trying to be like my teammates who had already developed the skills to be super successful. People like Brent Metcalf and Jay Borschel and Joey Slayton, Dan LeClaire, like Steve Borjo, who was a senior, Dave Hoffman, who was an All-American. Those guys I looked up to, and I wanted to have the same results as them. And so I tried to emulate everything they were doing, but that's not who I was. And so it was just kind of like this, it was just chaos. And if I'd have taken the time just to focus on wrestling, the sport of wrestling, how to improve at it, right? I think I would have gotten better faster,
Yeah.
honestly.
It's just, that's something that only comes though through maturity, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
hopefully you have coaches in your corner telling you that. But even if they do tell you, I think, I think about myself, how many times did Valak or Rebels, get on me about my diet, but it took me being 30 years old before I really understood like how that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
me and Blaine were joking. Yeah, we were a little heavy, but it's probably the best weight cuts that we've ever had, just because
Right.
of just experience and age and knowing how to fuel your body and do it the right way. So
Yeah.
to that point, we always tell our guys, the results are going to be what they're going to be. Like, control what you can control, and that's how you work every day, and the focus that you
Yeah.
have on improvement and the process of getting better. So I couldn't agree with you more.
I
Well,
don't know. I don't know if Blanton feels this way, but being a dad really put that perspective into my
yeah.
head because you literally have to live moment by moment when you have an infant and a toddler because their brain is just a it's like a squirrel trapped in a little cage just running around. And so like you got to drop your expectations, right? You got to focus on little improvements of being a
Mhm.
father. You got to do all those little bitty things. You can't worry about, the grand scheme because you have no control over that, you know.
Right.
And
But even
just correlating that back to wrestling, it's all the same.
absolutely. To kind of go back a little bit, you mentioned that just kind of that discussion of like you feeling time's running out. We had that little chat of like, got to get on the podium. Kind of bring it full circle. I remember having that chat, and the advice or the words of wisdom, whatever you want to call it, that I had that day were actually from Andrew Young to me when I was in high school and he'd already come up to college. But it was like, try to be the champ, and if you fall short, you'll be an All-American, but don't shoot for being on the podium, because if you fall short, then you're going to go home unhappy. And having that talk, and I think that mentality, when the hay's in the barn and the process is sort of over, you've kind of got to that point where like there's not going to be much improvement. Now it's just sort of, is my mind right going into the event?
Yep.
And man, you were locked in. I mean, I remember you knocked off the Grand Canyon kid who ended up being a national champ the next year. Just won some big matches against some tough kids, and really, stepped up to the challenge of that day and that weekend, and got everything done, and that was fun to watch and fun to be a part of. And I remember just how much like of a relief you could see that, just that weight come off your shoulders, and just sort of you being able to, when you won that All-American round match, that blood round match, you're being able to just kind of decompress and then have fun the rest of the weekend is great.
Right. Like once I won that round, it didn't even matter that I was on the backside anymore, because all I wanted to do was just have fun and wrestle again. Like I just wanted to get to the next match so I could do it all over again. And that's exactly the relief you're talking about,
Yeah.
And if you could take that same mentality and feeling and put it into a freshman, then you have a 3-time national champ if they fail that first year, because
Right.
now they're just focused on being happy and enjoying each match and each opportunity. It just took me that long to get there, and it took all that adversity to do that. If you could just somehow circumvent all that and just put it into somebody.
Yeah. No, I can relate, man. In my senior year was the same thing. It was like now or never type deal. And those matches after, I remember I had the Nebraska Carney kid, I can't remember his name, but to get on the podium. But those matches after were the most fun of my whole entire college career, just
Yeah.
because there was no pressure. We had already gotten it done, and we were just out there trying to put points on the board.
Right. Yep.
How old's your daughter now?
So June is 3, and then we had my son Reese in October. Reese was born, and then a week later we opened the gym. So it was like I don't even remember November or December. I don't even know what we did for Christmas, honestly.
Right.
Is Reese is he shaving yet?
He's got some back hair. Yeah. But no, we got blessed with 2 great kids. We get to sleep most of the night. I mean, it's pretty awesome. And it's really cool being a dad that owns a gym and teaches wrestling, and have my daughter there. Like she's literally a gym rat.
Nice.
I don't ever make her do anything, but she's there all the time. And she'll want to wrestle with me every once in a while. And the things that she picks up just from watching is amazing. Like she hit a single leg and then went and put a half Nelson in. And
Nice.
she said, "No, Dad, you got to grab the elbow."
Well, tell her to come teach some of our guys some half Nelsons.
Right.
We can use it.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. And with the sport of women's wrestling growing like it is, I imagine you're open to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it took a lot of hard work. Unfortunately, I wasn't around as much because I had already gotten out of coaching, but they just sanctioned girls wrestling in Louisiana this year, so it'll start next season.
Nice.
So that's huge, and we've been pushing that for I don't know 5 years now, and it's just cool because like on my little kids team we have 4 girls. And so they're going to be in high school in 5 or 6 years. Hopefully, their schools will have a program. And, I'd really like my daughter and son to wrestle. I don't have any expectations, but it'd be cool, And so yeah, I just hope that continues to grow. I think it would be silly to exclude half the population of a sport that is so great just because of who they are. Like, that's just silly,
Yeah.
And it's growing. I mean, we just added it here. They hired a head coach, and he's recruiting away so that they can get up and running next season. So
Nice.
it's pretty exciting to see all the different programs added.
I've always been curious how that works, and it's really because I've only coached at an all boys school when I was coaching, and so it was an issue that never happened. Now I coached kids club, and we'd have little girls, but when at the college level, do they practice with y'all, or do they have their own separate practice, or like how does that work?
Yeah, they'll have their own separate practice. And it's two different styles too, right? Because they do
Right,
freestyle. So
right.
literally you can think of it like men's basketball, women's basketball,
Gotcha,
two separate programs.
gotcha.
But it's
Yeah,
nice
Now,
because
I was gonna say at Somerville, they're just part of the team. They just practice with the team, and
yeah,
then basically the individual or the I guess the all female events are typically just individual tournaments. And so, like you might have a team that's got 50, 60 kids on it, and only maybe 10 are girls at
right.
most. Typically. So you're not normally gonna have like an all girls lineup or anything, but you will have opportunities where like the girl state tournament, or whatever that
Yeah,
is they're kind of getting into that right now. And I'm seeing posts all over the place of girls qualifying for state and this, that, and the other. So it's growing here, and it's a thing, but it is still folk style for logistical reasons. Instead of having to
yeah.
you host an event and you gotta have 30 refs, and 8 of them have to be freestyle officials, or whatever. Like it
There's not
starts to
enough
get
to go around right now.
right.
Yeah,
So I actually think it's a really smart move, and I think most high school programs should stay that model. I think they should stay folk style, just because I think it affords more opportunities at the lower levels. But once you get to the college level, and the funding is a little better, I think it's okay to start making that switch for the women. Because obviously that's what they're going to do internationally if they continue. But yeah, it's growing here. It sounds like it's growing there pretty well. So
yeah.
it's
You
if
gotta
it
hope.
if,
You gotta hope in 10 years there's enough female graduates that want to ref, and so like it can continue to grow in that sense as well, where it
yeah.
won't be as much of a logistic nightmare in 10
Right.
or
But
15 years.
even as much as it is a logistical nightmare, it's also a bit of a, help in a lot of ways. Like where our situation, adding women's wrestling sort of helped push the envelope and facilitate, hey, it really is time to get that new facility. Let's move
Yeah,
into a new place that we own, that we can actually put money into renovating, put money into,
right,
because when you're renting a place, you're not going to spend much money on upgrades. So
right.
being in that spot for so long, and then have an opportunity to move into a new place that we own, that we can really get right and really make a high quality training facility, that women's program really kind of helped push the envelope on that a little bit, and really force their hand, and gave us a good reason to do it. So we were stoked about that.
I still chuckle at our wrestling room from when we were competing.
The
Yeah,
wood paneling.
with the dragon's breath furnace that pretty sure just pumping noxious fumes into the room the whole time.
The
over at
dragon in the corner, man, that thing
Yeah.
would kill you if you were in the line of fire. There was like a 10-foot wide strip from one corner to the other, and if you practiced in that thing, man, you weren't gonna make it.
Most of the time, me and Oliver would just kind of play wrestle the whole time. Like we were both dying.
right.
But anytime if Matt really ever wanted to scrap and fight, it was over who got to be up by the crack at the door where the
Y'all were always by the
was.
door with your
Yeah.
face at the crack, trying to get the cold air from underneath the door.
I'd be like, Matt, you're hogging the cold air. Let me get some, dude.
No, you cross face me now.
That's great.
Giving up reversals just to get your face on the mat.
Yep. Yep.
The other cool thing about adding women's wrestling too is that now we pretty much got two programs to help do what one was trying to do, in terms of like, if we need new dumbbells, if we need new cardio
Right.
equipment, if we need, now it's a conversation me and the other coach can have, and put our, the pots of money we have as far as resources go to help make that happen. So I'm excited about that too.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's all there's no it's all pluses around, I can't think of a negative reason. So
Definitely, man.
yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about just some of your favorite, like what are some, aside from trying to find the cold air under the door, what are some of your favorite experiences while you were at Newberry?
So Newberry, so like I said before, I have some really great friends from Tech. But I would say Newberry is where I really became my own person, and like really became who I am, I guess, today. And I really cherish like I wish I could have spent more time as a student there, although I think I'm glad that I went when I went. Um I think wrestling wise, watching Bryant win his title was really awesome. That was a really cool experience because we were close and I knew how much it meant to him to win, and so that was a really exciting thing to watch. Living with Matt Oliver was a that was a
Experience.
trial from God, and I appreciate that opportunity. And me and Matt are still close friends. I don't get to see or talk to him nearly as much, but that was fun. So it's just the little things like that, man, that made it so special to me. Being with we just got lucky and the stars aligned and we had an incredible team full of a whole bunch of misfits from all kind of different backgrounds crammed in the shittiest wrestling room in the world, and we just had a lot of fun. I just remember even it being miserable, and everybody cracking jokes on Tony. It was just great.
That
It
still has
was
not
just great.
changed. We just saw him recently at came up for a match, and it's still the same, man.
Nothing changed.
I'm sure he's just as strong as he was back then too. So
World's strongest man.
yeah,
What's crazy? Just to go back to that point of talking trash on Tony. We had all of our alumni stuff this year and all that stuff going on, and so I was searching through my phone trying to find him, trying to think of everything we called him, looking through my phone. Finally, he joined a group chat and sent a message, and it showed up on my phone as Tulip, and I was like, oh, I was like, there it is. I knew I had Tony's number.
That's great.
that's good.
Oh,
That's good.
nice, man.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
go ahead.
another cool one was when I got to coach that one semester or that one year, right after I graduated, coaching BJ to a title. I mean, to a national runner up. That kind of really set my path for my whole coaching thing because I kind of got addicted to watching people succeed and like helping them be a part of that success.
Yeah.
And it's kind of I haven't really stopped since. I do it differently than I did when I was coaching high school, but doing it now in the format that I'm doing, it's still really cool to watch people grow and succeed.
Definitely. And BJ's the man. He's still around too. He came back and helped out with camp. He
Yeah.
was down here for alumni weekend as well. So he's still really involved. And a lot of the guys, it's great. I feel like the last 2 years, we've gotten a lot more engagement from the alumni, which is pretty cool because we're not that
Yeah.
old program. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
405 was the first year. So
Right.
we should be able to get together because everyone pretty much knows everyone.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's cool. Y'all do a great job with the social media, so it's kind of easy to keep up with the team and like I told you earlier, I'm an idiot when it comes to technology. So the simple things like, hey, what's the score? And I can just look on the Instagram.
Right.
It's good. It's just cool to be able to keep up and know I was a part of that, and continue to watch the success of the program. And you are right. We have a young team, but we have a tradition there somehow. Like it's just you work really hard and we expect success. And I think all the alumni would agree. Like we all expect from whoever dons that Newberry singlet, you better go out there and perform at whatever you're capable of doing. Um, and it's just y'all are doing a great job. I love watching it.
To that point, it's funny. I mean, it's a lot of pressure. I will admit. You know what I mean? Kind of me and Blanton being at the helm and trying to keep that tradition going. But it was interesting. Just that you mentioned that because even when we wrestled Life, I mean, they're the number one team in the country, but whatever. They put it on us pretty
Right.
bad. But Keno, Latre, all those guys, they were here for that dual Whitelock. They came down. I mean, they let the guys have it. Like
Yeah.
they let them have it. Like you wrestled, but I won't repeat what was said. You know what I mean?
Right.
But to that point, it's like if you're gonna wear a Newberry singlet, you need to step up and wrestle like the expectation is. Just because there were a lot of guys that came through and paved the way with a lot less than you have now.
Right.
So just talking to him a lot about the intangibles, the pride. Even if you're gonna lose a match, win the fight type deal. it was just really cool to see that investment from the alumni.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think my son will be about a year old next year. My wife and I've been telling her for 5 years now that I want to go back for the alumni weekend. And life and kids get in the way, but I think we're at a point where we can finally do that.
Hold you to it. We're holding you to it.
Call me. Make sure. Yep.
We got you, man. Well, what advice do
You
you
ain't
have?
you ain't big enough to fight back. I'll just come pick you up and carry you back up here.
I'm an ankle biter, dude. I'll bite your ankle off.
Hey, how do you like the fact you noticed that we went back to the throwback
I
singles?
do. I like that. Yeah. My daughter takes a bath every night and she uses a Newberry cup, but it's one I stole from the storage room under the old gym. You know what I'm talking about? It was just that room full of crap, and it still has the Newberry Indians on it. And
I love it.
I won't let her throw it away. I'm like, no,
Awesome.
you don't understand. You can't find those.
Nope. No more, man.
So,
well, hit our guys on the team now. I know you've mentioned quite a few just good little nuggets of wisdom, but just wrapping up, what advice do you have for guys on the team right now that are looking to get on a podium, looking to graduate and be successful?
the one thing in life that never changes, whether it's the wrestling mat or the workforce or marriage or anything, is that the only thing you literally have control over is how hard you work and how hard you fight, and that's it. You can't control literally anything else. And so if you put your effort and focus on those two things when it matters and when it counts, you'll find success often. Uh, when it's time to dial those things back, put your effort on improvement, right? Like don't wallow in self-pity of what you could have done or worry and be anxious about the future and like who you have to wrestle and all that. Just focus on the minute that you're in and how can you improve in that minute, whether it's your diet, whether it's your schoolwork, whether it's the actual match. Like, can't really focus on much else with what's going on at that moment. I think that's probably about the best. I'm not a big word guy. But that's about the best I can do, and I think that keeps it simple. That keeps it simple. What are you laughing?
Awesome.
Oh man, that's just funny. I love you, dude. Oh man, I miss you, man.
I know. This is not bourbon, by the way. This is just water. But I thought I got that look from you, like, is he drinking right now?
No, I would support it.
Yeah, he'd be all.
You're in a wood shop. You're supposed to drink bourbon.
That's right.
Let me see some furniture. You got any furniture you made sitting around?
Yeah. Actually, I just finished up a piece for the gym. This is my actual shop.
Oh, nice.
That's legit.
And this is that's the tabletop. I don't know if you can see that. And then this is the cabinet that it goes on.
Look at you.
So it's all old cypress.
Y'all got all kind of cypress down there.
Right. Oh my God. Cypress, oak trees, water, lots and lots of water.
Remember we came over to your house and your dad made crawfish omelets?
Yeah.
I did not know those two things went together, but man, they do.
Oh man, you got to try a boudin burrito. Oh my God, your life will change.
Sounds like it.
That's the other thing about down here is, boy, it's hard to cut weight.
I can imagine.
I was doing some professional grappling tournaments over the last probably 5 or 6 years, kind of just all over. I went to Japan, went to California, Trinidad, and but I was back home, so I was having to cut all my weight back here, and everything was during Mardi Gras. So I could not, like, I would eat a whole cake every day, and I'd have to like go run it off. I'm like, this is stupid. Why do we even live like this down here? Everybody's fat
and happy.
Yeah, the food there is great.
Yeah. No, Bland, I think that would be one of my other favorite memories is when you came home with me. That was a blur.
It was a blur, but it was a fun blur.
Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
did catch up with Keno a couple of years back. He was down with his family. And in classic Keno fashion, we were sitting at the restaurant and we're just talking. Him and I are just bullshitting and laughing. And he had his national championship ring on. Well, Keno's a rather large human in the middle of the city that has a professional football team that had won a Super Bowl. So he had like two people come and take pictures with him thinking he played for the Saints. And he didn't say anything. And I'm just sitting there like, dude.
That's fantastic.
But very believable. He's huge.
He is. He is. Not fair.
That's great. Well, look, man, I appreciate you joining the call.
Yeah, thank y'all
yeah,
for having me.
yeah, for sure. We'd love to have you down here. I think we're gonna try to get our alumni information out, but I think homecoming weekend is set to be in the middle of October, so we'll be getting info out, and we'll love to have you down, man, so we can really catch up.
Yeah, I mean, let me know if I can help with anything with like camps in the summer or try to be
Sure.
down for that weekend next weekend.
Yeah,
Or
Kendall's not in his crib anymore, so you can sleep there at the house.
perfect. That's cute. That's cute.
Cool.
No, that'd be awesome, man. Well, thank y'all so much for
man.
having me. It's good catching up.
Yeah, dude. Great to hear from you.
It's always a
Good to
pleasure.
see y'all doing well.
Yep. Let me know if the program or the new facility needs any custom furniture. Like if you need a nice desk for in there, let me know. I got you.
A good rocking chair for our water breaks.
There you go. You need a rocking chair. You're old.
Yeah.
He'll get it. Yeah, make them two. That way we can use them for when the guys have to run nines. That would be good to sit in.
Ooh, perfect. Perfect. Like that.
Cool, man. Well, we'll holler at you. I appreciate it, man.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
All right, brother.
My man.
All right, Coach, what'd you think?
A lot of fun catching up with Sheridan. So we didn't really get into it in the interview, but we were almost kind of like roommates. You remember that apartment we used to live in over there, kind of close to where my house is now?
I know exactly what you mean. Kelly
so-
Anderson used to live there too, right? Or no?
Yeah, I lived with Kelly, but the way the downstairs works, like you walk in the front of the building and there's a door on the right and door on the left. But they're actually also kind of connected back. There's like a closet, and the closets are interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
So they were it's almost like adjoining hotel rooms in a
Okay.
sense. So our whole apartment was kind of connected to their whole apartment, and then there's also two like that upstairs as well. But anyway, long story short, they lived downstairs on the left. Kelly and I lived downstairs on the right. He and Oliver. So it was kind of we kind of treated it almost like a 4-bedroom entire floor
Nice.
apartment. So. Sheridan and I got super tight that year, and a lot of fun living with him, but super fun catching up with him. Great guy, and you could tell, in the interview how much stuff he's got going on and what's important to him, and his heart's in the right place, and he's obviously doing some good stuff down there in the bayou. It sounds like. I mean, he's out in the booze yelling at chickens and stuff.
That was funny. That wood shop he has is pretty cool.
Yeah. We need to get him to make us some furniture.
I was thinking that on the interview. But yeah, Sheridan, we appreciate you jumping on the show, man. It was awesome to catch up with you, and always proud to call you one of ours. Next up, I just wanted to talk about general news for Newberry College as an institution. Obviously, everyone knows it's Black History Month, and the college is doing a number of different things throughout the course of the month to just highlight that and celebrate it. On February the 7th, 19th, and the 22nd, there's going to be a number of different lunchtime table talks that the Mueller Center hosts. I'm actually doing the one on the 22nd, and it's just an opportunity to go and engage with the student body and have conversations that don't have anything to do with wrestling. You just go sit and get to know the other students that go to Newberry outside of the ones that are on our team. So I'm looking forward to that. Also on February 8th at 6 p.m., we're going to have a Black History Month kickoff worship service where there'll be a special message from Reverend Kevin Shepard. He's the pastor at Mount Zion Baptist Church in Chapin. February 15th, there's also going to be a performance at the Opera House. There's a link that you can find on our website that takes you there if you want to get tickets. And then on the 26th, the Mueller Center will have a film series that they're hosting, and they have something called Gospel Live, and it'll be presented by Henry Louis Gates Jr. at the G. Nan room at the CTE over in the Center for Teacher Education on Spear Street. So that's what the college has going on for Black History Month. Notable shout outs and just things going on with alumni. Me and you were kind of talking when we were in the office. I saw Cy was back at Clay High School this past weekend in Florida. I think they celebrated 20 years since they won that state championship.
Yeah, I think that was Cy's senior year. They won the state championship for whatever division Clay High's in Florida, and one of his high school teammates has taken over as head coach, and some of those pictures Si was helping coach and stuff. So, you know.
He said they put him to work.
Yeah, kind of cool to see 2 former teammates now coaching that same team. So that was some cool stuff. Good for Si. I noticed they had Si posted pictures, some banners. They put a banner of Si up alongside like some NFL players and stuff like that who have gone on to from Clay High on to different things.
That's awesome.
So clearly, a place where he's well respected, and they were honoring him and that team. So it's really cool for him.
Definitely. And also shout out to Si as well for obviously Blanton and I were stretched thin at the Newberry Open. So
Real thin.
He was able to come and help do some things and run the tournament from an administrative perspective. And also he was in the corner helping coach the guys too, which was really valuable because we were stretched kind of thin with, the number of guys we had wrestling. So appreciate you, Si. Thanks for coming to help. But other than that, that's all we got for you today. Remember, you can find the podcast anywhere that you stream podcasts, particularly Spotify. You can also watch us on YouTube, and then on our official athletics page, you can stream the podcast there as well. And if you haven't given us a follow on social media, please do so. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Yep, and please don't hesitate. We love engaging with you guys. Please leave comments, leave feedback, ask questions, some things that we can do to engage. We would love to grow this podcast, hopefully big enough to where at some point we could do it live and actually, answer questions and communicate and have some of that conversation live if possible, but that has to start somewhere. So again, you guys engaging with us in the comment section and with direct messages and emailing us and all that stuff is a great way to kick that off.
Yeah, great point. I appreciate that. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next month.